Girl. Hi, everybody. We're back for another session of In the Black. I'm Janelle.
And I'm Tria. Hey y'all.
Hey, Trio. How are you doing today?
It's going. It's going. We had a little complications with the audio and everything with the podcast, but other than that, I like that we pushing through. And yeah, just it's good.
She said we're pushing through. I was like, we should throw the towel and lay down, go to sleep.
I think it's because on a Thursday versus the Wednesday that we set for it. I wonder if it's the day out of sync.
Something is going on.
Something going on.
That was weird. Trust me, guys. It was real weird what was going on. But
But we here, y'all.
yes, yes. And today we have an interesting discussion. We're going to talk about pricing. The whole intro that I had, I'm just throwing it out the window. We're just going to go ahead and talk about this pricing. We're going to give you the fruit and potatoes and the meat and potatoes, right? Meat and potatoes. We're going to give you all of the juiciness on pricing because I was saying that this is something that I definitely struggle with. I know Triel struggles with it. How do you charge? How much do you charge? What type of charge pricing do you have? So we're going to get into it, guys.
Yeah.
So there are three types of pricing. There's hourly, project-based, and value-based. When I was saying what you charge hourly is because you were working a job or you potentially were thinking about getting a job. And for me, I was working for my first business, I was working at a bank, a large bank, and I was getting paid 12.74 back in the day an hour. And I decided that I wanted to start a tutoring company. And so I started charging $12 an hour. I never did any market research. I never figured out what the market was selling things at. I was like, look, I'm gonna compare it to if I make better, $12, no taxes, I'm making more money than if I was working at the bank, right? They were paying me cash. So yeah,
Wow.
right. $12 an hour. I was 19, 20 years old. I'm like, I'm happy, okay? So, listen, but that wasn't what the market called for. And as my business grew, I realized that I was doubling my money back then, tripling my money, charging way more money up. And I went up by the time I stopped tutoring, I was charging $45 an hour back then.
Ooh,
Mhm.
yes.
Yes. So that's why I was charging hourly pricing. Triel, how did you start your business pricing? How did you decide on your pricing?
I just I started with value-based pricing. So it was everything is in a lump, didn't give a track of my hours. Again, I started my business after being in the military. And so I was just like, I just need some change just to get by. And I was just like, a branding package would be the best route to go. So I would charge just a set price for a logo. I did some research. How much do you charge for a logo? And it's like $500. And I'm just like, okay, so let me find people who's doing what I'm doing and see what they charging and kind of match that as well. So it turned into like value-based pricing and deliverables, not accounting for any hours, which I saw like, oh man, I need to charge more because it's taking me a longer time. But just to get my foot in the door, it was straight value based.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely want us to talk about that story about charging, per your hours and all that type of stuff. The other one and the last one is project based, and now do a lot of things project based. So I have a team that I work with. So we're like, this is the cost of the project. I have my team bill me per hour, and then I make my profit off the top of it. You have to consider your overall cost, the time capacity that things are going to take. There's a lot of factors that go into project-based pricing for you to decide how much you're going to charge your client. I personally do not give them the details of why I'm charging this amount, but I just tell them this is the amount of the project. They can either go with it or they can negotiate or whatever that they decide to do.
Yeah.
So, um, let's go back, take a step back. And Trielle was talking about with value-based pricing. She was charging like this is the value, which is really great to do. This is the value that you're going to get because when you're building a website, when you're doing marketing, when you're offering a service, it's a one-time value-based project. They are getting a lot out of that project, right? This is not
Yeah.
something that you have to do again. So you have to charge what that value is worth to the client. If you're simplifying their life, if you're creating a system for them, there is value in that.
Wow. So let me flip that then. I believe I was project based then. I would go by the project. Is it? I guess it'll be a merge of project based, value based, because now I'm on straight up value. You know what I mean? Like this is, you got to make this money back. You got to be able, this investment, you got to 3, 10x, whatever X you want to do. But this is what it's going to cost. But this is what you're possibly, this is what you can make if you operate and execute in this manner. That's value based. As you
Yes,
defined it, that, yeah, I was like, okay, then yeah, no, I started with project based. Like it's gonna be $1,500 for this package. I don't care what you do with it. This is just what I'm charging.
definitely. So my personal goal is for my clients to 10x any money that they invest in me.
Yeah.
Right? My goal towards them is for you to 3x, right? But I know I want them to 10x, but I know that I'm
Hmm.
very aggressive on my goals, so I don't express that to them. I tell them I
Yeah.
want you to 3x the money that you spend with me because the goal is for you to make more money and then come back and spend with me again, right? I'm not here trying to
Mm,
take your money and then we don't continue our relationship together. No, you're going to
that
keep
part.
going, right?
That part.
So I had a client I actually did a free service for, right? I charged her for something else. And then in between, I did a free marketing campaign for her. It took me an hour to do for her, come up with the concept, write her a quick email to send out to her subscribers. From that campaign, she made $1,500 just by sending out one email,
Mm,
right? So guess what? She called me back. Hey, I need another marketing campaign. Well, this time I'm charging. I'm taxing,
hmm.
right? Because you got a lot of value, $1,500 for free by sending out one email,
I like that.
right? So that's value-based pricing, right? That was more than 10x,
Yeah, that was
right?
yeah, yeah. That
Right?
was
Right.
unexpected. Like, yo,
Right.
yeah.
I wasn't expecting this money. Of course, she has to do the work and work with the clients and everything, but she's making money from it. So
Hmm.
when I go back and I price it again, I'm going to price it based on that, the rewards, the value that I was able to get from the first campaign,
Yep. Yep.
right?
Yep. Yep.
So, but with Trielle, she was doing a project the other day, a big project. We won't name any names in this, but she did a big project. And every time I talked to her, she's like, I'm working on this project. I'm like, wait a minute. Because she told me how much she was charging. So I'm like, let me send her a message. So I text her and I'm like, hey, track your hours for this project. She's like, I don't do it hourly. That was never my goal for her to, work hourly, but I still wanted her. She's a bit aggressive in the text message. That's why she's laughing. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but I was like, track your hours because I was worried, concerned for her that she's doing so many hours. And then what happened after you tracked your hours, Trio?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I had tracked my hours or whatever, and I saw that I did way too much work based on the value, um, based on the pricing that was charged for that package. And so I was just like, okay, we need to stop right here in this project and now go into a new contract. Like because this was, I did the absolute most. And the crazy thing about it, it showed, and I'll just speak to like the struggles. It showed the struggle with worthiness. Is like it doesn't matter how decorated I am, how awesome I am, how dope I am, and what I know that I'm capable of giving. It was me in a sense people pleasing, trying to get everything right and letting the client take more control than she was supposed to have, right? And so when I started tracking my hours, I was just like, okay, noted. Let me just go ahead and finish this project and let this project be a lesson moving forward. I have to increase my rates because I saw that I was undercharging, and I called it like leaking voltage, you know what I'm saying? I was giving too much of it. I was giving it too much energy, and it didn't require all of that, honestly speaking. So once I saw that reality, that truth, I was just like, you know what, Janelle, let me call you. Let me apologize because I was a little bit snappy. I ain't even gonna hold you, but I see it, you know what I'm saying? I see it. So yeah.
And I do want to caveat to say a couple of things about that. A, the client is very persuasive. That's her business, and that's how millionaires become millionaires and people become rich is by being persuasive and being able to sell themselves. So Trielle falls in love with this client, like, oh my gosh, we're gonna do this, that, and the third. And she sold her on a long-term vision. The client sold Trielle on a long-term vision of they were gonna work together on a long-term vision. So when she's showing me the website that she's done for the client, absolutely flawless. And it was done more, there were more pages done. Trielle created the pages for the next version of next iteration of the project. So I'm not going to say that she undervalued herself. I'm not saying that she did that. What I'm saying is that she was sold um a cake, a vision, a dream, right? And she bought heavy into that dream of a long-term client. And I'm sure she's still going to work with the client, which means that she'll reveal the pages to the client at a later time, and the work is already done. So she'll get paid, she'll get that invoice, she'll get paid, and then she's like, "Yeah, I'm working on your project. I'm working on your project." And it's all the client doesn't even know it's already done for her.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
yeah.
so excited about this client, right?
Yeah, because this client was a referral from another client, and like that client I hold near and dear to my heart. It turned and bloomed into a beautiful relationship as well. And so it was just like, let me not, you know, let me honor this referral because she didn't have to give me this referral, you know what I'm saying? So it was just like again a little people pleasy, and but I was just like, okay, understood. I'm working with my ideal audience, and I know that is going to also open up and bloom new referrals and so on and so forth as I continue to break into that high value market and my ideal clients. And so I did too much though. Like honestly speaking, I should have just, hey, that's beyond the scope of work. We doing it this way, we doing it that way, we doing it this way, we doing it that way. So yeah, it's just a lot of lessons learned because yeah, the way I was doing things, it doesn't apply to this level of clientele. It has to be by the book, by the contract, by the this, by the that, because that's how they do business. So I gotta let my emotions and my feelings kind of like, ooh, you know what I'm saying? And let the line items, the invoicing and the contract speak loudly. So take that as you all will, but yes.
The official word for this is scope creep. So Triel had a scope and the client wanted to creep the scope, right? So it's called scope creep. And every time that a client scope creeps, we have to document, right? So it's fine for them to do that. But hey, the pricing is going to change because you change what we're doing, and the timeline is going to change because you've
Yeah.
extended it out. Now, if you don't want the timeline to change, you want to keep it at this deadline that we initially created, then I charge more for that because then this is a rush,
Right.
right? So it's all, this is business. At the end of the day, we have to put our CEO hat on and say, hey, this is business. These are the fees. This is why it's important to have these things. Why we're having this conversation right now, because it's important to have these things documented and set in your mind and on paper before you even have these conversations with potential clients,
Yeah.
that you know that this is already done. I have a welcome kit put together, and it's like, hey, if you want to text me, there's a fee. If you want to call me after this hour, there's a fee. If you want to call me on the phone, there's a fee because I need you to schedule a call with me. Seriously, I need you to schedule a call with me on my calendar because I can't just randomly pick up the phone for clients. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that I haven't, that I stick to this all the time. I don't, but I try to. And it happens. You have these amazing clients. I have one right now that I'm really excited to work with, and she just picked up the phone and called me. And that's how she does business. But that's not how I.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me share this. Another thing that happened, because in the process of me with this client, I finished like two other projects, right? So, one of the clients though called me, and I took it way to the extreme. I now know just let it go to voicemail. But this client called me like back to back, so I'm like, hello, what's going on? Hey, I just wanted to see if you, I was like, okay, it's already in Basecamp, correct? All right, yeah, so I will speak with you in Basecamp. And then hang the phone up. After that, I actually got rid of that number. I actually got rid of the line and I was going to do it anyway, but that caused me to kind of like expedite it. You know what I'm saying? And then I switched my business line with another company, and now that number is just strictly for a client. The number I had before was only audible, like phone calls, so I couldn't do text messages anyway, and I needed to add text messaging to my plan, and the service provider was charging an additional fee, and I just found one that did it all together. So I was just like, all right, bet. So I already had that number, didn't give that to my client, but like just moving forward, that's the route that I'm taking as well. This company and this provider that I'm going with not only documents the conversation, it also provides a summary of it and everything. So it just keeps everything like by the book, like by the scope, by everything. Like this is the conversation, this is the transcript of the conversation, this is what you said, so on and so forth, just to cover the tracks
Mm-hmm.
moving forward. So
I think that's a big deal because that was something that I mentioned to Trielle as well because I've had this happen to me in the past, like with this client that she went above and beyond for, is it documented the conversations? And she was like, yes, all of the conversations have been recorded on Zoom. So I was like, okay, perfect, because
yeah,
you don't want where there's scope creep. And she's like, oh no, I didn't ask for that. I'm not paying for that. You did more than I asked you for. You just did that just be no, have everything documented. So that's great that that phone provider documents everything for you because you want to make sure that you're covered, right?
yeah.
This is business.
Business is business. And
Mhm.
y'all, I know we're supposed to be talking pricing, which we're going to get back to, but keep everything black and white and stay by those rules. For me, this was a transition client as I transitioned to this new level of higher value clients. Like I just that's the best way I can put it. Like as I transitioned to that, this was my transition into it. And I think I arrived with some flat tires, but nonetheless, what worked with my previous does not apply to this place. And these are some of the big lessons that I'm learning in this process, especially because pricing has a lot to do with it. Something that Janelle told me was like the reason why you're feeling overwhelmed or burnt out is because she gave you a deposit that didn't cover everything that you are now doing. So yeah, of course, you should have just sent an invoice. I mean, she ripped me a new one. Don't get me wrong, definitely. But I was just like, you are absolutely correct. So we getting it back on course, we getting it back on track. But again, moving forward with my next, this won't even be a conversation, like for real, because everything has been documented and the hours with the price, like all of that, it matters. It really does matter. So if we're doing value by, I mean, if we're doing hourly rates, make sure y'all have a timesheet. I know there's going to be a lot of softwares that's going to tell you to use timesheets and like get into their thing, but just take it to something simple as a Excel spreadsheet or something to be able to track your time for each project and have that as proof as well. Because I know when I did the government contracting, when I was acting as a subcontractor, I had to stay within the hours. And once I reached that scope of work, he had to pay me additional, like more. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done.
Okay, so okay, let me summarize what we've said so far.
Mm-hmm.
Um, keep track of your hours. Whether you're charging hourly, value-based, project-based, hours should be tracked. Okay. Just for your sense, hourly for the clients, but
Mm-hmm.
the rest of them for your knowledge, right? Because on project-based, you're going to be charging your team if you have a team or yourself. So keep track of those hours. And then value-based, you want to know that the value is there for you, how it relates to them, right? So keep track
Yeah.
of your hours. Like Trielle said, an Excel sheet, set a timer on your phone so that you can track it if you want to do it that way. If you want to do it on the computer, they have websites like Harvest, Time Toggle, things like that that track your hours for free for you. So you can set
Yeah.
that as well. Um, do not underprice due to imposter syndrome. Don't do it. That's my summary on that. Go ahead and figure out what the market charges. Talk to our friend ChatGPT. Figure out where the market is. Start there. As you build more value into what you're doing, increase your prices. Adjust for scope creep. So as things change in the project, you want to adjust and send them an contract, send them an invoice. I forgot to mention that. So once the project changes, let's say you took a deposit, like Trielle did. She took a deposit, and then at the end of the project, she would get the remaining balance. The scope creep in the middle is an automatic invoice. Okay. It's not going to be paid at the end. It's an automatic invoice. Once they change that scope and sign the contract, you invoice them for the scope creep. You the remaining balance, you can charge at the end. But that scope creep, we're charging upfront because that it was changed in the middle of the project.
Yeah.
One of the things. Making sure that you are transparent in your pricing structure. This is what I'm charging. This is what I'm getting. I was redoing my website the other day and I'm just putting all my prices out there at this point. If you can't afford it, we can't work together. That's just,
Yeah.
it is what it is. I don't want to get on the phone and be like, oh, I thought I could pay $100. There's nothing I can do for you for $100 at this point. There's just nothing. So go ahead and just be transparent with your pricing and make sure that you are showing value to your client when they're redoing their website. Yeah, you had a website up. It was a Canva website. You couldn't click on it. You couldn't do this. You couldn't do that. Now I'm moving you to this website with Triel's Wix. I'm moving you over to Wix. You're going to have your clients going to be able to interact with you. You're going to get a portal. You're going to get all these things by
Mm-hmm.
doing this website with me. So this is the value of what you're going to get by
Yeah.
working with me. So
Yeah.
what you want to do is you want to decide, are you charging hourly, right? So how do you decide how much you're going to charge per hour? You want to do a time audit, like what I was telling Triel to do, and you want to create an income goal. How much money do you need to make per week, per month, per year? Divide up your time, how much you want to work by that goal. That's how much you can charge per hour,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you want to make sure that but also do research and make sure that you're inside of the window of what's realistic. You don't want to say, hey, I'm a virtual assistant and I charge $150 an hour. Yeah, we love it, right? We love it. But that's not what the market calls for. So find out what the market calls for and base it on that, your experience and the qualifications that you have, and base it on that.
Mm. Okay.
What was that?
Because I want to add also consider inflation,
Mm,
right?
hmm.
And also consider your level of expertise. So I used to play The Sims, love The Sims, play every now and then when I have some free time. And one of the things is skills, right? So when they're in a job, you have to get them like to do certain things in order to level up, right? So
Hmm.
when you level up in real life, you learn, let's say you learn how to master AI. You need to be able to add that into your pricing as well because you've been upskilled and you need to charge for that. Something that I know that I have struggled with, but I now understand, especially when I took the job that I had a year ago, is the different hats that you wear as well. You have to consider the different teammates or the different roles that you play, and make sure you price for that as well. When I first started and I was doing the project value-based kind of thing, I was just charging for design, but not my expertise, not the marketing, not the all the things that I invested all of these hours to get a master's in. You know what I'm saying? So like once I started seeing that um that was a disconnect, that I was giving too much, I was just like, oh, hold up, wait a minute. And then when I went into this new job that I had and I saw all the different hats that I wore, but different people wearing those hats, that's when I recognized like, oh my God, I need to charge more based on what is happening. So if you're a creative like myself and you can do the graphic design, the web design, you're probably doing some project management. If you don't have that teammate or that team player, still include that. So when you do come into a hiring or bringing someone in, you can be like, this was the budget that I have allotted for this, and this is what I'm willing to give you as well based on the pricing. You know what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense?
No, it makes complete sense. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. Because as an entrepreneur, you're wearing more than one hat. You're not just
Mhm.
a designer, right? You're a CEO, you're a designer, you're an admin. You have so many hats that you're wearing, so you want to charge accordingly.
Yes. So don't
Mhm.
underbid again with your pricing. You know, I get it. We can get paid CEO ratings, but when you doing all of the things, bro, you better charge for all of the things that you doing. Like for real, for real. So
Yeah,
that goes along with your market research.
yeah.
Janelle, let me ask you this. Can you explain to these to the listeners what market research is? This is not just
Yeah.
Google, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So, find out the value of the services that you're offering and who is in the market, right? Who are your competitors? Who's buying from your competitors? What are
Mm-hmm.
your competitors charging? What are they offering? How are they positioned? What structure do they sell their products and services in, right? Are
Mm-hmm.
they value based? Are they service? Like, how are they charging things, right? So find out what's going on in the market that you're in the industry that you're in, right? What I like to do is I have a friend who will call for me competitors and pretend that they're looking for their services and get all the details, go through their whole process. Sometimes I go through the process, right, of finding out how their funnel works and all that online. So I have them call and they're like, hey, I want this service. Can you send me over a quote?
Mm-hmm.
They will send them over a quote so that I can see what's going on in the market. So I make sure that I'm up to par with what everybody else is offering because what you
Yeah.
don't want to do is undervalue yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, the last part I want to say about this is making sure that you can show your clients the value because you want to, the goal is if you started hourly, then you move to project based, the goal is to get to value based pricing.
Mm-hmm.
So you want you because that's where you're able to charge the most, you're able to build those long-term relationships, all of that type of stuff. So
Yeah.
you want to be able to figure out how to show value, long-term value in the services or product that you're selling. Okay. And how you can do that is you can get testimonials. You can call up past clients like, how did that work for you? How did that make you feel? And take notes on what they're saying. Because having the testimony, having them say something online is great. But if you have the notes and the words that they used, you can use those same words and sell the product or the service.
Yep. Yep.
Is there anything else you want to add, Trio, before we do the power play?
Yes, the last thing I had to share is um I know you mentioned you did your website and you have like the pricing out loud. I love that. I love that. Another way we can do this as a creative brand is to have qualifiable, like a qualifying lead or lead form or something like that. And one of the ways that you can get a great qualification is to have like questions like, are you in business for 0 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, because now we can, or what stage in business are you pre-revenue? Are you growth scale, whatever stage you are in business, so you can kind of gauge the budget that they may or may not have. If they're like 1 year in business and they're just starting, then we know that they may not have the funds to be able to afford a high value package unless they have a marketing budget. So that's a good question that you could ask as well. Do you have a marketing budget set aside or a creative budget set aside, whatever that service may be set aside? If so, what is it? Or you can even change that into like a you're ready to work with us. Are you ready to make a 5 figure, 6 figure investment today? Stuff like that, just so that they can be like, oh no. So before they even contact you, they'll be like, yeah, no, this is out of my scope. So it's just different ways to get a qualifiable lead form before you even get to the next conversation. So Janelle shows her pricings. That's going to turn people away immediately. For others, a good qualifiable form for a package like, are you ready to invest 5,000 to 10,000, or here's the scope or a budget from 1,000 to 5,000, showing that the lowest project is going to cost $1,000. So if you don't have that, then we're not going to be a good fit together. So just wanted to add that as well.
No, that's so true. That's good. I love that. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, last thing. Last thing. Power play.
Okay, let's go.
Guys, my power play for you is for you to create a pricing one sheeter. I want you to list all of the services that you offer and create price points for them. Do your market research. Talk to ChatGPT. Get him to help you to create this one sheeter, right? Having it is going to simplify your life. So write out all the prices, write out all your fees. If they're paid late, how much are you going to charge them? If they want to book a call with you to ask questions, how much are you going to charge them? Is your discovery call a cost? How much is the cost? If they want to pick your brain, I just love you so much, I want to pick your brain. How much are you charging them for that? Create a pricing sheet for them so that for yourself, so that you know where you're going, and make sure that you're including how much you spent on in hours, right? So calculate your hours on the projects that you've done in the past and put it through a chat GPT and figure out your pricing.
Yeah. And then also consider your profit. I would say my power play would be to alongside the pricing, what is going to be the profit or what are you going to have to invest in, i.e. software associated, what is the software fees, the subscription fees, whatever it may be in order to execute on a service. For an example, Adobe Creative Cloud for me is a big fee to be able to do the graphic design and everything. What else? Maybe also the processing fees that is associated with, your transactions, the 3.5% plus 29 cents per dollar, however that thing goes. Just figure out what are all the costs associated with it so that you can begin to see your profit. So making sure that you are priced for your profit, not just priced because the numbers look good.
Because we want you to be in the black.
Okay. Okay.
We want you to
Yeah.
be profitable. That's what this is about. All right, guys, we appreciate your time as usual, per
Per
usual.
usual.
And we want you guys to have a great day. If you guys need anything, click the links down below, book a call with us. We're happy to jump on a call, answer any questions that you have. And if you want help with your business, we're here for you.
All right, y'all. Until next video. Peace out.
Bye.
Um,